Michael Dennon here with the Physics of X, where X is everything except politics. This has been a series of YouTube videos. I started with Harry Dresden. I then switched to spaceships and flight. We're now moving into a new sequence. I'm going to focus on the physics of change. But I'm actually going to use Christmas to kick this off with two of my favorite stories. Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens and How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. So if you like these videos, hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you're always informed when new videos come. Why am I talking about the physics of change with A Christmas Carol and How the Grinch Stole Christmas? Well, in both of these stories, the key thing that happens is you see a person, well, one case the Grinch, we'll call him a person, make a decision to change their life based on things that have happened to them. Now, if you haven't watched this series yet, I did a really cool video with Harry Dresden on free will and choice and another video on acts of will and where this comes from. And these are really exciting questions right now as people in neuroscience make new studies about how the brain works. People in philosophy are really thinking about change. And so we ask these questions about how things change, and there's a lot of physics behind that. You have to understand how physical systems change, what causes change in physical systems, how they interact with each other, and then there's our human perception of change. And I want to talk in this first video a little bit about the human perception of change and decision making, and then the rest of this sequence will focus on the physics of that and how it connects together. And one of the fascinating things I find about these two books, movies, wherever you've watched them or read them, is everybody is familiar with what a Grinch is and what a Scrooge is. And if you poll people, and I've done this in many talks, I can guarantee you if you say, give words that describe Scrooge or give words that describe Grinch, you get all the negative adjectives. You get the description of them in the story at the beginning. Scrooge is a miser, he's mean, he doesn't like people. The Grinch is grumpy and hates everyone and hates Christmas. But in fact, in both of these stories, they are about humans' ability to change who they are. They are essentially about free will and our ability to respond to the situations around us and do something different, something unexpected, something that our past might not lead us to. It is interesting that there's these two tensions going on. If you talk to most people do feel that they can make choices. They would describe themselves as being able to have agency and make decisions. And yet, in these two classic works of literature where we are committed to this idea of change, what we remember is the person beforehand and we forget the change that happens. So I think this is an interesting aspect of change that doesn't often come up in the studies I read from whether it's psychology or philosophy or neuroscience. And it's something I'd like to explore more. I do think what's really interesting is a new movie came out last year relative to when I'm recording this, called Spirited. And if you haven't caught that, it's a fun little musical, but it actually looks at this question of, did Scrooge really change? Is that type of change really possible? Because of course in the story, we hear, the author telling us that Scrooge was this way for the rest of his life, but the story really focuses on that one night and what happens to him. The other thing, and this will be my last comment as I lead into the other videos, particularly about the Scrooge story more than the Grinch, is you really get this idea of past, present, and future, and how this impacts both us. Our past sets a lot of who we are, but how much does it set? Does it completely fix us? Our present is the moment we're living in. That's constantly interacting with us. But we are creatures that can think about the future. And there are some thoughts and discussions of free will where our ability to make choices comes from our ability to imagine the future. And that is, of course, something very dramatic that happens to Scrooge. It's no spoiler alert. I hope everybody's familiar with the story, that it's seen and thinking about his death that is kind of the final piece that causes him to change. So there's a lot of interesting physics of change, and that's going to be the next set of my videos. But I thought it'd be fun, since we're right around Christmas time, to kick it off with these two classic Christmas stories, A Christmas Carol and How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And then if you haven't caught it yet, because I like to advertise for free all these other movies, Spirited is another fun look at this. So this has been the Physics of X. Thank you for watching. This has been the Physics of X, where X is everything but politics. Make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you get notifications of every episode coming weekly straight to you.